Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is MTG Guldude, and we're going to try the Digging Up the Past series of different tribes. We're going to do it a little differently. I'm going to try and remember to the best of my abilities all where these came from. So hopefully I can learn and be a better and more knowledgeable Magic player when it comes to recognizing cards and sets. So without further ado, we're going to go all the way back to Alpha with the Wall of Brambles. For 2 and a green, this is a 2/3 plant wall that has, for green, you can regenerate it. So I mean, it's a pretty good blocker. I mean, can't really complain too much about it. Then we go to Arabian Nights. For 3 and a green, you get a 0/3 plant, and you can tap to reduce any attacking creature's power to 0, which could be extremely effective, especially if they have infect and if they don't deal damage, which is pretty cool. Moving on to the dark, we have Carnivorous Plant at 3 and a green. It is a 4/5 vanilla creature, and I probably should have brought. There we go. I probably should have gotten the Oracle texts for these because some of them have changed over the years. Because back in the day, I don't know if some of you are old enough to remember, but walls, they could, just because they were a wall, they could not attack. They were automatically declared defenders. So that's interesting information for some of you. If it ain't, you know, I learned something new today. Then we have Tinderwall for a single green. This is a 0/3, and it has the ability for 0, you can sacrifice it, add 2 red to your mana pool, or for a red, you can sacrifice it, have it deal 2 damage to target creature it blocks. So it's a shock on a creature that blocks it. It's just pretty cool. Wall of Pine Needles for 3 and a green. This is a 3/3 with green regenerate from Ice Age. Wall of Kelp. But this is probably one of the very few and far in between blue plants that we have in the whole game of Magic. Because for 2 blue, you get a 0/3 with the ability for 2 blue, you can tap it, put a Kelp token into play. You can treat this as a 0/1 blue wall, which is so strange. But that is from, I'm not going to say Homelands. I want to say something else, but I can't remember. Whip Vine for 2 and a green. This is a 1/4. It can block creatures with flying. You may choose not to untap Whip Vine during your untap phase. You can tap it, tap target creature with flying. Can't flying blocked by Whip Vine. That creature does not untap during its controller's untap phase as long as it Whip Vine remains tapped. This is good for a stacks hold down deck if you want to try and trap all your opponent's creatures in walls. Wall of Roots for 1 and a green. This is a 0/5. Put a 0/1 -0/-1 counter on Wall of Roots. You add a green. You can play this only once each turn and as a mana source. Lycanthrope for 3 and 2 green. You get a 5/5 for 1 damage dealt. For each 1 damage dealt to Lycanthrope, put a -1/-1 counter on it. Instead, during your upkeep, remove one of these -1/-1 counters. If you play this in a green black deck with the enchantment that says that allows you to remove -1/-1 counters and just give a creature -X/-X, it's actually pretty good. Plant Elemental. No, I think that enchantment actually does +1/+1 counters, so you have to remove +1/+1 counters. Either way, I mean, if you're like playing the one creature that says nothing can get a counter. If we're playing like Solidarity, there we go. It just lives forever. Plant Elemental for 1 and a green. This is from Portal Second Age, I want to say. This is a 3/4. When it comes into play, destroy one of your force or destroy the elemental. So, I mean, if you really just need to bounce a creature in real quick, it's not that bad. This could be a good setup turn, though. If you're trying to get lands into graveyards. Wall of Blossoms. We all kind of know this one's coming because this is a old staple. For 1 and a green, this is a 0/4. When it comes into play, draw a card. From Stronghold. Vine Trellis. For 1 and a green, this is a 0/4. Tap to add 1 green mana to your mana pool from Arcadian Mask. Ooh, I don't know that one. Moss Dog from Sunset. For a single green, this is a 1/1. Whenever it becomes the target of a spell or ability and opponent controls, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Which could be good in a like heroic deck if you're looking to play with plants. Utopia Tree from Invasion. Original Invasion, I think. For 1 and a green, this is a 0/2 plant, and it can tap to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Jungle Barrier from... Oh, I know the set. I just can't think of it at the moment. For 2, a green and a blue, this is a 2/6. When it comes into play, draw a card. I mean, it's a hefty blocker. That's for sure. For 4 mana, it's a 2/6. But I mean, 2/6 just to draw a card. You got to be doing some budget stuff to be doing some stuff like this. And now we're going into the modern age in Ravnica, OG Ravnica. Greater Moss Dog for 3 and a green. This is a 3/3 Plant Hound with Dredge 3. And I really like the flavor text in this one. It says man's best fungus. Vinelesher Kudzu for 1 and a green. This is a 1/1. When a land comes into play under your control, you put a counter on it. It grows to hate you. Story of my life. Shambling Shell. This is a plant zombie from Ravnica. For 1, a black and a green. This is a 3/1, and you can sacrifice it, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, and you can dredge 3 to get it back. Wood Wraith Strangler for 2, a black and a green. This is a 2/2 plant zombie, and you remove a creature card in your graveyard from the game, and you can regenerate it. So it's a constant removal of cards from your graveyard. Phytohydra for 2, a green and 2 white. This is a 1/1. If it would be dealt damage, put that many counters on it instead. So this is kind of like your vigor, your anything that doubles, keeps doing counters. Which, as long as they don't destroy it, you should be fine. Volturius Zombie for 3, a black and a green. This is a 3/3 with flying. Whenever a card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, put a +1/+1 counter on Volturius Zombie. This was in a couple decks that I've played, and I always like playing it, but it never seemed to stay on the board long because flying and grows the more stuff gets removed. It draws hate so fast. Now we're moving on to Dissension, I think, or the Guild Pack. I can't remember the set. Vegian Hydropon. That's a word. For 1, a green and a blue. This is a 0/0, but it has Graft 5. When it comes into play, it has 5 +1/+1 counters on it. Whenever another creature comes into play, you may move a +1/+1 counter from this creature onto it. And it can't attack or block, which is, it's kind of dumb to pay 3 mana for a 5/5 that you can't attack or block with. But, I mean, you're slowly moving those counters off of it onto something else. So it could be pretty good later on. Spouting Fighter. I'm sorry. I gotta stop and say this. Ravnica was the worst about having Hydra plants. Like, I know, like, no other plane has had Hydra plants as many as Ravnica has, which is the weirdest thing because I would feel like, if a city had a ravenous plant problem, they would have that under wraps fairly quickly. But I guess because the Simic Combine has done so much work, they have sown the seeds so deep that no matter what they do, they cannot get rid of these plant hydras. Yes, I don't like Simic that much. I'm sorry. Sprouting Phytohydra. I'm done with the rant. For 4 and a green, this is a 0/2. Whenever it is dealt damage, you may put a token into play that's a copy of it. So, Pestilence and Spouting Phytohydra. You know, copy. Dealt damage. I wonder if that says combat damage. If it says combat damage, then you have to block with it and then it's dead. But if it just says damage, Pestilence, and it just keeps going. Like, okay, so what would this do? How would you do this? Wonder if we can make a combo out of this. So we need to find a way to constantly be making black mana. So what you could do is you could have a Shia. Right? No, Shia would keep dying. But then it's a plant, so it doesn't matter. Nope, I'll think of one. I promise I will. This is just so interesting. You can't just not do something like this and have some kind of crazy combo with it. Especially if you wanted to go like Jund or like Golgari and you just keep making the tokens. I feel like that could be a combo. I really do. Creekwood Ghoul, and we're in Eventide now. For 4 and a black, this is a 3/3 plant zombie with hybrid green-black. Remove target card in a graveyard from the game, you gain a life. Which for 2 mana, that's not actually that bad for 1 life. Mastodon for 4 and a green from Shards of Alara. Or maybe that's something else. I don't think it's Conflux. Maybe Shards is a different symbol. It's a 5/3 for 1 generic. Target creature with power 5 or greater gains trample. It's pretty good. Snapping Creeper from Rise of the Eldrazi. It's a Zendikar set, and maybe original Zendikar. For 2 and a green, this is a 2/3 with landfall. Whenever it enters the battlefield under your control, it gains vigilance until end of turn. Now, if I don't think it could get bigger, but they do that later on nowadays. From original Innistrad, we have Grave Bramble. For 1 and 2 green, this is a 3/4 with defender and protection from zombies. Nature abhors a zombie, but it cannot stop it. So let the plants try. That's all I gotta say. And this is probably the most creepiest art and the prettiest art in all of the plants that I've seen. Like later on we'll see some cool ones, but this is probably one of the prettiest. And I'm not just saying that because I love Vincent Prosh as an artist. That's just personal opinion. But I really do enjoy this art a lot because it is so artistic. It is also creepy beyond measure at the same time. Because if you look at this art at first glance, you're like, oh, it's just a tree. And then you keep looking, and if you know your Magic lore, you see the Hell Vault right next to it, or what used to be the Hell Vault. And then your eyes start kind of trailing to the left, and you start seeing the nooses. And from that point, I was just like, nope, I'm done with this art. It's nice, it's pretty, it's gorgeous, but no, I can't. But Tree of Redemption for 3 and a green. This is a 0/13 defender. You can exchange your life total with Tree of Redemption's toughness. So if you're on your last leg, you can just tap it and be like, yep, I'm at 13 now. Gate Creeper Vine from Return to Ravnica, I'm guessing. For 1 and a green, this is a 0/2 defender with, when it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card or gate card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your library. Dredge Mangler. For 1, a black and a green, this is a 3/3 with haste. Gotta have them fast zombies. Plant zombies. And it does have scavenge for 3, a black and a green. And what you do is you can exile this from your graveyard, plus pay the cost and put a +1 number of +1/+1 counters equal to the power on target creature. This card. on this card to target creature. Which I really wish Scavenge was a better mechanic. Just me personally. Oh, good old Slitherhead for 1 hybrid black or green. For it is a 1/1, and it also has Scavenge 0, so you can exile it from your graveyard to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature equal to this creature's power. Thrashing Moss Dog from Dragon's Maze, I want to say. For 3 and a green, this is a 3/3 Plant Hound with Reach and Scavenge 4 and 2 green, which would be a Scavenge for 3, +1/+1 counters. It's not bad. Rot Farm Skeleton for 2, a black and a green. This is a 4/1, which is so odd. Then Rot Farm Skeleton cannot block, but for 2, a black and a green, you put the top 4 cards of your library into your graveyard, return it from your graveyard to the battlefield, not tapped, and you can activate this only anytime you could cast a sorcery. So if you're in a Golgari, like throw everything in the graveyard deck and reassemble it onto the battlefield type deal, be pretty cool. I would love to see a Marin zombie deck. That sounds pretty dope. I might do it myself. Sylvan Caryatid from Theros. For 1 and a green, this is a 0/3 defender with hexproof, and you can tap to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Carnivorous Moss Beast, and now I'm just cheating because it says M15 right there. It's, yeah. For 4 and 2 green, this is a 4/5 with the ability 5 and 2 green. You can put a +1/+1 counter on it. Yep. For 7 mana, you can put a counter on it. But this is a plant elemental beast. Living Totem for 3 and a green. This is a 2/3 with Convoke, so you can tap creatures to reduce its generic mana cost. When it enters the battlefield, you may put a +1/+1 counter on another target creature. Genesis Hydra, and I didn't even realize Genesis Hydra was a plant until I'd seen that I had, when I I was looking for plants. So I might have to find a way to throw this into my my Phylath deck. It's pretty neat. But for X and 2 green, this is a 0/0. When you cast it, reveal the top X cards of your library. You may put a non-land permanent card with converted mana cost X or less from among them onto the battlefield and shuffle your library. It enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters. It only could have been made better if it had trample. Phyto Titan. For 4 and 2 green, this is a 7/2. When it dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control at the beginning of his or her next upkeep. So it's just it keeps coming back, no matter what you do, unless you exile it. Or it was stolen from you, then it comes back to you, because you are the owner. Creeper Hulk. And that looks more like it would be a vehicle nowadays than it would be its own creature. But for 3 and 2 green, this is a 5/5 plant elemental from Commander 14. Oh man, I could have just looked down at the corner of the dang card to see what the set was, and it gave it away to me. But I'm just finding that out now, and so are you. But for 1 and a green, up until end of turn, target creature you control has base power toughness 5/5 and gains trample. And last but not least, we have Jady Offshoot for 1 and a green. This is a 0/3 defender with landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life. This was a staple for a long time in landfall decks before, it got stupid hard to not play bad cards in Commander. But that is going to be it for today, everybody. I really appreciate everybody that likes, that comments on the videos, that watches the videos to the end. And if you made it this far and you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Subscribe to the channel. You never know what kind of stuff I'm going to be doing next. Hopefully, I'm going to be doing something big come next month. I'm looking to try and getting some good stuff. So, stay tuned for that. But that is going to be it. This is like I said, like you've seen in the thumbnail, this is only part one. We have another one. If you like this type of format of me trying to guess, the names of the sets and everything like that, let me know down in the comments below. If you don't like it, if you want me to keep going with the old style, like using the thumbnail, then I'd be fine with that. I feel like the older sets I'm bound to always mess up, but now that we're into like Zendikar, I think, what is the name of that one? Battle for Zendikar, that I'm kind of more used to it, so it should kind of fly by a little faster. But as I said before, I couldn't do it without you guys, and that's going to be it for today, and I'll see you guys next time in the graveyard.